with the end of the saga. What a moment for Arsenal fans because the saga is over. Victor Gyökeres to Arsenal is a here we go. The agreement, the verbal agreement, still waiting for the parties to sign all the contracts, but the verbal agreement between Arsenal and Sporting has been completed today around lunchtime in London with the agents of the player in London, with the director of Arsenal, Andrea Berta, on it, and in direct communication with Sporting. After, guys, last night, I told you on Monday, Man United were offered again the chance to enter into the story for the Victor Gyökeres negotiation. Basically, from Sporting, the message was something like, we are still not closing with Arsenal, so match the bid, come into the race. Man United considered that possibility, but what I can tell you is that they never sent any formal proposal because the answer from the player was always the same. Only Arsenal Football Club. For Gyökeres, there was no other option. Arsenal Football Club. That was the message of Gyökeres to the president of Sporting. That was the message of Gyökeres to his agent. That was the message of Gyökeres and his agent, Hasan Çetinkaya, to all the other clubs. We said about the Man United opportunity, Saudi clubs 10 days ago, all got the same answer. Arsenal Football Club. So, trust me, this story is now at the signing stage, so let's wait for the formal steps. But as soon as this story will be official, I think Arsenal fans should really rate what Gyökeres did to be an Arsenal player, because he had crazy money proposal from the table from Saudi. Also the opportunity with Man United to eventually match the bid, pay what Sporting wanted and hijack the deal. But for Victor Gyökeres was only Arsenal Football Club. And when a player is exposing himself like this and the agent together with him, it's something really strong. So Gyökeres is going to Arsenal. As mentioned, the agreement will be for 63.5 million euros plus 10 in add-ons. So this is going to be the agreement. Also important to say, guys, that these add-ons have been the crucial point of the story, because they've been negotiating on the structure of the add-ons for more than 10 days, always with some issues on Sporting side. They always requested for more, but then Gyökeres, with a strong position, always said, I'm not coming for training. I'm not going to play for Sporting anymore. I want the club to respect what we said, and so now the agreement is done. Don't forget that Arsenal pays 63.5 million euros because the agent of the player will reduce his commission in order to facilitate the deal. Gyökeres also took some part of the salary and gave up on this part of the salary to facilitate the negotiation. So everyone did their own part in this story, but finally now Mikel Arteta is ready to have the striker he wanted, Victor Gyökeres, after a really crazy story, crazy negotiation, very long saga. Now Gyökeres to Arsenal is a here we go. And is a fantastic news for Arsenal because they add one more player. Meanwhile, Christian Mosquera is traveling to the pre-season tour after all documents signed between Arsenal and Valencia. So the player is on his way to be with the squad of Mikel Arteta. So for Arsenal, all the pieces of the transfer window are going to the right place. Don't forget that there is still the opportunity for Arsenal after they extended the contract of Ethan Nwaneri, because Nwaneri contract is extended, is signed, is done until 2030. Arsenal still consider the possibility of adding one more offensive player. Eberechi Eze remains a strong option. They had very good contacts with the player camp already weeks ago, waiting to see when and if they will approach Crystal Palace. Don't forget that Arsenal also appreciate Xavi Simons, but Chelsea are really pushing on that one at the moment, so let's see what's going to happen there. But for sure, Arsenal are not done on the market, and I think there could be also more things to keep an eye on in case there will be some outgoings. So let's wait, let's see. For Arsenal now, these days were really important in the Gyökeres saga, and they got it done. So now, let's wait, let's see, and then at that point we will understand more on the next movements for Arsenal. But I can say that I don't think Arsenal are done in the market yet.
William Saliba has just made a decision that's going to really annoy Arsenal fans. William Saliba is one of Arsenal's most important players. The Frenchman has been on the Gunners' books since the summer of 2019, but he only made his competitive debut for the club at the start of the 2022-23 campaign. Saliba has been absolutely incredible for Mikel Arteta since, and has developed into one of the best center backs in world football. That has resulted in some serious interest from Real Madrid and Saliba. William Saliba has entered the final 2 years of his contract at Arsenal. The future of the France international, along with that of Bukayo Saka, is high on Andrea Berta's to-do list, and initial talks have already taken place with his representatives. The focus in recent weeks has been on the transfer market, but we expect negotiations with Saliba's camp over a new deal to take place once the window shuts. However, AS in Spain have now shared some news that will annoy Arsenal fans. The report claims that Saliba has decided that he does not want to extend his contract at Arsenal, much like Ibrahima Konate at Liverpool. The Gunners, however, are keen to retain his services and are willing to offer him a lengthy contract until the summer of 2032. Real Madrid are very interested in Saliba, and they are in need of defensive reinforcements in the coming windows as well. The Galacticos have already held talks with the Arsenal Stars camp, but it remains to be seen who they will move for first, Saliba or Konate. Every Arsenal fan needs to accept that Saliba will probably end up at Real Madrid one day. The 24-year-old is already among the best players in the world in his position, and he is destined to play for the Spanish Giants. However, Arsenal's job is to hold on to Saliba for as long as they can, and to do so, they need to extend his contract. If Saliba has indeed decided against renewing his deal, Arsenal will have no choice but to sell him in 12 months' time in order to avoid losing him for free in 2027. That is a big problem, but Andrea Berta has not let Arsenal fans down so far. Hopefully he can work his magic and get Saliba to commit for a few more years. Mikel Arteta is desperate for Arsenal to sign Eberechi Eze. Another player linked to Arsenal is Eberechi Eze. The Crystal Palace star has a release clause of £68 million and is understood to be open to a return to Arsenal years after being released from the academy. Arsenal are also eyeing Xavi Simons, who could be regarded as an alternative to the England international, but Arteta's preference has been made clear. That's the understanding of reliable Arsenal transfer insider Hand of Arsenal, who took to X to share an update on EZ. Since Arsenal's talks regarding EZ, there have been glowing references from members of the squad as well as Arteta. Arteta has directly communicated to Arsenal's hierarchy that he's obsessed with the idea of signing EZ, making his feelings on the possible transfer known to all. There's an issue in that Chelsea and Bayern Munich are also admirers of the versatile playmaker, but according to Hand of Arsenal, the player's preference is the Emirates. Unlike other deals that Berta is working on, the sporting director might have a rather easy ride when it comes to possibly negotiating with Palace for Eze. Arsenal are being tortured by Sporting CP over every detail regarding Gyökeres' release from the club, but it's thought that dealing with Steve Parish will be quite the opposite. Hand of Arsenal note that it's well known in the industry that Parish is honorable and straightforward when it comes to exits at Selhurst Park. Parish knows he could reuse the money made on Eze to reinvest in the club, with the situation described as a deal that's there to be done. With Ez sold on a move and Arteta desperate to get a deal over the line, it will be fascinating to see what steps Berta takes next. And that wraps up today's biggest Arsenal news. If you enjoyed the update and want to stay on top of everything happening with the Gunners, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Come on, Arsenal!